Hello, this is Tytti Vanhala from Sweden. I am an associate groundwork trainer for Art2Ride. I'm going to talk through and critique my own lunge and in-hand video from June this year. This is our horse Kiviniemen Pöly. He's a Finn horse, which is a Finnish draft multi-purpose horse. He's a gelding and soon to be 7 years old. We have had him almost 14 months now, and he has been trained according to the Art2Ride foundation training method all this time. He came to us with no muscling over his top line, so far we have been just building up muscles with him. Here you see me starting the lunge work. He's a horse that finds it really hard to walk in the beginning on the lunge. That is why I keep the whip pointing backwards in the beginning, not to pressure him too much straight off. And here you can see me now I'm turning the whip around. I still stay quite close to him, and I want a little bit better work from him in the walk. And you can see that when I lift the whip just a tad, he breaks into a trot. When he does it, I just make sure that he trots well, and I continue in the trot. Of course, it would be more optimal to keep walking longer in the beginning, and I think you should always strive for it, but on the other hand, it's counterproductive to try and force the walk. Well, on the other hand, if Pöly wouldn't trot so well in a good stretch working through his top line, I would bring him back to walk and work the walk more persistently. He does stretch immediately all the way from his shoulder to the ground. While he's stepping under, he's just barely tracking up in the beginning. So that is why I was asking for more forward motion from him in the trot as well. It does help, and he starts to move better and really track up. So it's important to remember to ask the horse to move forward enough and not only concentrate on the stretch. So you should keep an eye on rather the horse's hindquarters and the movement from behind than the stretch in itself. Of course, the stretch is important as well, but if the horse doesn't move forward well enough from behind, nothing will happen. With forward, I mean stepping under from behind, not just going faster. And when you're new to this type of training, it is really easy to concentrate too much on the stretch in the beginning, and then one tends to forget the forwardness. Here I'm asking already for canter, since the trot work went so well. He's starting it quite stiffly and looking out, but I just wait and he soon stretches and starts to work over his top line. As you can see, he finds it really hard to canter on the right hand, so I keep it short and just a round or two. After canter, his trot opens up a lot more, and I felt that this warmed up enough for me to ask a little bit for more of him. So I ask him to come to a slightly smaller circle and therefore work a little bit harder. So I shorten the lunge line a little and walk on a smaller circle myself. He keeps on working well, so I keep it really short, and now as you can see me, I walk him to a bigger circle. And then I start to ask for another canter, and as you can see, he doesn't really give it to me immediately, but I just quietly persist, and in the end I use my whip on him. He again is looking a little bit outwards and not totally over his back, and even shows his tongue when he brings his head up altogether. I just stay calm and make sure I don't pull on him, so I give him a little bit more line when I see that he finds it too difficult. When he breaks to trot without me asking there, I just ask for a short canter again, and I think it would have actually been better still if I asked for yet a third canter, but I felt that it was not going to work that day any better, so I just decided to get him settled into a nice trot instead. So it doesn't really pay to canter and canter when he cannot do it properly. Canter doesn't improve with cantering, but with building muscles in the right places, for example, just working the trot a little bit more. So here I ask for some walk before changing side. I feel that I get better work from him when I'm closer to him in walk. So I shorten the lunge line and I get closer. His walk work could be better. I could have a little bit more contact on him and I could push him a little bit more from behind. I'm being perhaps a bit too cautious here, since I know how easily he usually breaks into trot, and try to avoid the really harder work in walk. But still I could go a little bit closer to him so I would have more control. Here in the beginning of the walk work you do see that he's not fully stretching into the walk, and while he's working through his back and over tracking, he's still a little bit straight on the circle, meaning that he's not really bending laterally with his body. And I'm working on it by asking to move on and yield his hindquarters with a whip and aid while keeping the contact to his mouth. And in the end you saw perhaps how he released his neck a little bit more, he stretched forward better, and immediately everything improved there. So this is why I stopped there when he gave me really good work and what I wanted. When I stop, I also don't ask him to come to me, but I prefer him to stop on the circle and I go to him to change the direction. And some treat is always good for extra reward. I use sugar cubes, which dissolve quickly in the mouth and aid salivation. I used to give carrot pieces, but will change my mind on that. Okay, so here you see me starting on the left and I'm a little bit closer to him. My whip is also pointing still backwards, giving that a little bit less pressure on him. I wanted to keep him walking a little bit longer on this rein. He's a little bit too slow and bending a tad too much in with his neck without following with his body. And then you see when I ask for better and more forward work, rather than giving that to me, he goes to an easier option, which is a trot for him. And starting the trot on the left rein, you can notice immediately that the rhythm he has is a lot more rushed, and in fact he's not tracking up either like he was much better on the other hand. So he has shorter steps, he's not really stepping under quite as much as on the right side, and the rhythm is really more rushed. But even so, he's stretching down and he's working through his top line well enough. And as you can see, when he's coming towards the camera there, he's not bending through his body laterally yet. So you can say that he's straight on the circle. So what I do is I let him at first to just get on with it at his own pace, and I just observe and see if he gets any better. But after a while I start to ask for more forward motion. He gets a little bit better, and his stride is getting slightly longer and he's starting to step better under himself, but not hugely more yet here. And here I ask for a short canter to see if that will help his trot afterwards. He canters a lot better on the left hand and he stretches to it almost straight away, you can see here. Although there's room for improvement, as you can see how straight he's still on the circle. And in fact it does help, and now he's kind of fully tracking up. However, he still feels quite rushed. So I want to ask for more canter in shorter bursts. Or I'm asking for canter here, but he's not listening. And it's a little bit more difficult in a smaller circle I have here. I in fact could have helped him by letting him go in a little bit bigger circle here. And but he lifts canter finally anyway. this second canter is already a lot better, and he's starting to bend laterally with his body instead of being straight on the circle. There's not much bending, but there is a little bit of a hint that it's getting more supple. And there is again an improvement in the trot work, but I decide to push him a little bit more, and I take him to a smaller circle as well. I thought that should also help him to supple up. So again, I shorten the lunge line and I stay more put in the middle of the circle. I keep sure that his hindquarters are not falling in, and that he's forward enough. He's still looking a bit outwards at times and finding it really hard exercise, definitely in the beginning. But he's improving, and he's starting to bend laterally as well as tracking up properly. And he's also feeling a lot lighter, so to say, in my hands. I'm not pulling or anything, but the contact is starting to feel a lot lighter and more supple. Here you see me going a little bit of a bigger circle when I decided that he's responding to my smaller circle more, so I walk into a bigger circle, and I decide to ask a bit of canter still. He gives me a really nice transition and a really good canter work, considering that it is a smaller circle for him as well. And after the canter, I think that this may be the best we can do today. He's now tracking up really nicely. He's moving forward with a much better rhythm than in the beginning. I hope you can all see that. And he has suppled up, so he's bending more with his body. Even though he's still a little straight on the circle, I think today he has done enough for one day on the lunge, and so I let him come to walk there. So I'm looking for a really nice low stretch with a nice and good forward walk. And he's actually stretching a lot better on this side than on the other side in the walk as well. But I'm still kind of asking a little bit more of him. And as you can see, he jogs into trot quite easily, but this time I'm just persisting, and I'm asking him back to walk. And I'm saying like, hey, work a little bit better in the walk, and we're not going to trot anymore. And you can see how he really released his whole neck. Instead of going to trot, he stayed in walk and really stretched nicely forward from his shoulders, all the way from the shoulder. And there you can see he still wants to just trot. And you can see how I've turned my whip backwards, just making a little bit less pressure, but I'm still using it to drive him forward. It's just a little bit more subtle. And there you can see how he can do the walk work, but it is a lot more difficult for him. And I decided that's enough for him, and he's worked well enough, and he's earned a sugar cube again. So I prefer to lunge without reins, as you have seen. They tend to fall down his neck when he gives that full stretch down to the ground. So we take them away for safety reasons. This in-hand work was done straight after the lunge work you saw, but I just cut away the video showing empty school while I was putting the reins back on the bridle. So in-hand work consists of alternate lateral work and straight walking in stretch work. I start with asking him to move over and away from me. As you can see here, it's just like a leg yield from ground. And once he does that, I walk straight with him, relaxing my aids and letting him stretch down. And then after a bit of walk straight, I ask again more lateral. So you can see how he crosses over, just like leg yield, so to say. Here he tries to walk past me, so I persist and I really ask him to go straight sideways. And after he has responded, I again relax with some forward straight stretching downward. And again here I'm gonna ask him to go a bit more lateral sideways movement. There we go. As you can see, I'm actually ending up a little bit too forward in relation to his shoulder. I'd rather that I would stay a little bit more on his shoulder than this is. I think I'm too far forward with my body. But there again, he tried to kind of walk past me, so that's why I took a little bit more contact and asked him to really go straight sideways. And here the same thing, I'm asking for more sideways work. He's not quite responding well enough, so I'm just persisting, and here I'm just stopping, because just to stop and regroup myself and start again. So that's always a good advice. If you feel that you kind of lost control or things aren't working, just stop, reorganize your hands and your whip, and just start all over again and ask for that sideways movement away from you, like I do here. He's not the easiest to do in hand work. He tends to crowd you and wants to kind of walk all over you sometimes, but he's improving. He's a big improvement since Will worked with him during our clinic in May. And here I'm going to change the side. Of course, there's a little bit of a sugar cube for him there. So there I stopped on that side because I felt that he was responding to me a lot better, that he was going sideways from a lighter aid and he wasn't trying to crowd me or come into me. So this side is more difficult for him, and this is why I asked him to go straight sideways from the beginning, so I can control his shoulders more. He tends to come into me with his shoulders and wants to go over me, as you can see here. I just want him to step over away. And here you can see that I have a little bit of a slack contact on the outside rein, so you should remember to keep contact on your outside rein when you ask for him. But here you can see how he's trying to walk past me. He's just trying to walk over me and avoid the work, so this is why I stop. So you just stop, reorganize my hands, and here I go again, asking straight sideways that he yields to me. And after he's done that, like there, I just relax my aids and ask him to move forward. And actually here I ask more for sideways from him. And there we go, that's where I go forward and down for some more relaxing work. And I see that my outside contact is a bit of an issue on this hand, so should keep an eye on my outside rein a bit better, and also that I'm not walking too fast forward past his shoulder. And here you see another leg yield from him, and it's working a lot better, although again the outside contact, I could have a little bit more contact on the outside so he won't bend his neck so much inwards. And here he's just resisting in general on my aids, and so what you just do is you just Arm down, stop again, and start all over again. As I said, this is his worst side to work on in hand, so just have to be patient, and you just, when things get tough, you just stop and restart, and it will work, it gets better. And here he's actually giving me quite a nice yield even in the stretch, even though again my outside contact could be a little bit better. And here he tries again to go past me, and I think it may be because my outside rein contact isn't good enough. So I should really pay attention to that. But now he's really responding to me much better, and he's even yielding in a nicer stretch here. So what I do is when you see that his head is quite high when I ask for his sideways movement, is because he also tends to just plunge into me, and I'm just keeping the contact whatever he does with his head. So that's where I'm ending. I thought that was enough work for today. So that was my session with Pöly. If you're interested in seeing the whole journey we and Pöly have made with this training, you can follow us via Will's YouTube channel. We have documented pretty much all in Pöly's journal there. Well, I hope you enjoyed our training session and perhaps get some ideas for your own training. This has been Tytti Vanhala and Pöly, both working according to Art2Ride and classical foundation training. Wishing you all good training sessions.